Alright, hello all, this is GGA Jeremiah here, and today I'm going to be going over my Sub-Zero buffs for Mortal Kombat 9. You can download this mod on Nexus Mods, link in the description. But here we go, we got Sub-Zero here, and if you see the patch notes up on your screen here, the TLDR is he's got better damage, he's got better hitboxes, and he's got better EX moves. And the archetype for Sub-Zero, I just went ahead and put it in. He's a defensive character, mainly because of this move, this Ice Clone. One of the best special moves in Mortal Kombat 9. But hopefully with these Sub-Zero buffs, he becomes a pretty strong character. Let's see what we got here. Alright, his overview. He's got a new passive now called Frozen. So frozen opponents take 5% more damage instead of taking 15% less damage. The moves that apply frozen are Ice Ball, EX Ice Ball, EX Ground Freeze, Ice Clone, and EX Ice Clone. Regular Ground Freeze doesn't apply frozen. So basically what would happen in the old one is if you started with this, they take 15% less damage, whatever your follow-up. So what is this? 12% uppercut right there. So if you were to freeze somebody and just do an uppercut, it would do less damage. It'd do something like 10% or whatever the scaling was. But now, frozen opponents take more damage. So that's every move. Anytime they're frozen in there, they're going to be taking 5% more damage instead of 15% less. And then also some of Sub-Zero's cold specials, some of his special moves that have cold in it, they have new properties. And we'll go over that in a case-by-case basis here. Alright, let's start with his normals. Alright, stand 1 startup used to be 16 frames. Now it's about 13 frames. So a little bit better. Possibly. This one might have some anti-air now that's a little faster. Or he's got other moves like 1-3 now that are buffed that are a little better. So yeah, 1-3 hitbox used to be 1.5, which is the standard size. And now it's 2.9. So like... should be able to hit a Ducking Melina now. And it's a pretty, even though the hitbox is nearly doubled, it's pretty reasonable as you see. If the foot whiffs, it whiffs. But if the foot hits her, it hits her. And then the damage used to be 5%, now it's 7%. Alright, we got 1-3 back 4. Hitbox used to be 1.5 and now that's 2.3 size. So 1-3 back 4 is the sweep here. Mainly, this needed, because the 3 hits farther now, this needed to have a bigger hitbox so that hits. And then the startup used to be about 21 frames, now it's about 19 frames. So it starts up a little faster there. We got 1-3 forward 4. Hitbox used to be 1.5, now it's 1.7. So that's this one. Ends in an overhead, so you got a nice little, that's an overhead ender, and then the other string we just did, that's a low. The startup here used to be around 17 frames, now it'll be about 15 frames startup for that overhead part of it. And it used to be about -8 on block, now it's about -7 on block. So overall, his everything with a 1 just got a little better. 1-1's the same. Alright, we got back 1-2. This one's just a mini nerf, and this is basically just to keep his new extra cold damage that he gets. It keeps it a little bit more in line, because before, like, let's say you landed a jump in, back 1-2 into freeze, you know, and you get 41% now because of the buff. So I had to just walk back just some small damage areas just to keep his damage in line with his new cold damage. And then the back 1-2 hitbox is bigger now. That used to be a 2.5 hitbox, now it's a 2.9. So a little bit better against like Ducking Melina, stuff like that. And it still will whiff if it whiffs, you know. But it's a lot more useful against smaller hitbox. And then on the side note, because I took 1% damage away from this one, I went ahead and added 2% more into back 1-2-1. That's his restand, because this is it's a nice string that Sub-Zero has. So like, let's say you happen to land this and you want to keep him standing, you get 26% plus whatever follow-up you want to do. Not bad. Alright, we got back 1-2-4. Startup used to be 37 frames, now it's about 25 frames. Let's see here, back 1, 2, 4. Yeah, this one. So this one used to be very easy to react to. Now it's a little bit faster. And then the gap used to be 17 frame gap, now it should be more around 5 frame gap. So this little mix at the end might be a little bit better now. You might be able to use it in some circumstances. Alright, we got down 1. Hitbox used to be 1.2, a real tiny. Now it's 1.9. So now, basically, if your hand touches the opponent, it'll hit him. Which is good. He's got, like, not the best down 1, but maybe if they're trying to jump out of your pressure, now with this higher hitbox, you might be able to get some converts off of that or something. But he still has his great down 3 and his down 4. His broken down 4 is still exactly the same. Alright, 214, just a small damage nerf. It used to do, this kick used to do 11%, it now does 10. That's just to keep his insane cold damage now a little more in check. Alright, we've got 3. Hitbox used to be a 1.5, and now it's a 3.2. So now this will be a mid against Melina. So yeah, a lot of these strings, like, you go here, you get a guaranteed mid there, you know, now, because that'll hit anybody ducking now. And then the damage for standing 3 is up to 7. So these little things like that do more damage. Yeah, here we go. 3 forward 4, damage increased from 7 to 9. So both of those together now are 15%. And then startup used to be 17 frames for this kick here. Now it's 15 frames. Man, look at that hitbox. Does that need buffs? Look at this. Man, Melina's a sneaky character here. Alright, we got standing 4. Can now cancel into specials. It will not combo into anything, but maybe there's some, like, I don't know, anti-air clone setups or something like, let's see here. I don't know, something like that. Maybe you can come up with something and then something like that. So maybe you can come up with something with standing 4 being able to cancel into something, or maybe on clone on block or something. Get this nice big clone. Maybe you can come up with some things there. And then forward 4 damage. This is that overhead, the high risk reward overhead. Damage increased from 7 to 9, so you can get some legit damage now with this cold. 34% into a restand, or if you want to catch out with the big one, you can do 2-1-4. No, something like that. 38%. A little bit more reward for taking that risky overhead. Alright, let's get into his specials. Alright, down forward 3, Ice Ball. Applies frozen on hit. So now opponent takes 5% more damage. And then the Ice Ball used to do 0%, now it does 1%. So there's this small chance that maybe you can break armor now. Maybe if there's a clone out. That's funny. Maybe there's a clone out, and then they, I don't know, go through it, and they only have 1-hit armor. You might be able to break their armor now. But there's a lot of hyper armor in this game, though, so it won't work against hyper armor. Alright, we got EX. This one also applies frozen on hit. And it is now a mid instead of a high. And I increased the collision, used to be 10, now it's 20. So this, if it was 10, it would whiff on a ducking Melina. So I buffed it to 20, so it will hit all duckers in the game now. And then it does 2% on hit now, it used to do 0%. And then the startup is faster. Right here, it would hit around, I guess Melina still dodges some of it, but let's say she's standing. This one used to be a 20 frame startup, now it's 15 frames. And then that also applies for full screen. It'll be, it'll land a little bit faster. So this is a much improved special move. Might be able to get some trades more often against fireballs and stuff. But one thing though, this move, if a projectile is already out in the air or something and you get hit, your beam will die immediately and you won't be able to trade. So you have to freeze them first if you want to trade. Alright, ground freeze, down back 3. Startup used to be 56 frames, and now it's about 27 frame startup, as you can see here. Now, 27 frames, I think, is still reactable, but what happens here is when you play against Sub-Zero a lot, you get used to where his down 4 range is, and you dance outside of that range. So, like, maybe I clone here, and, you know, maybe I'm throwing out some down 4s or whatever, and you know that range. This has a little bit more reach, so maybe you're hiding in your clone. You can surprise them. You can get maybe a whiff punish, maybe Melina. You walk back, she whiffs the down 4, be able to get a whiff punish. Now, this keeps the standard 5% scaling, so instead of doing more damage, you'll be doing less. See, only 11%. A normal uppercut by itself does 12. So that's exactly the same. You take standard 5% scaling on that move. Alright, what else do we got here? We got the EX ground freeze. Applies frozen on hit. And then startup used to be around 53 frames, and now it's about 22 frames, so even faster. So if you can see this, you get this nice beauty. Hide behind your clone, maybe catch them. And then it goes farther, a little faster across the screen, just because it lands faster. So, still reactable at full screen and all this, but you have some new games here. You can, from this, you can get them, and then this applies frozen. So, let's say you land this, you know, you could do. This one applies frozen. You know, get a little bit of. 30%, not bad for 1 bar. Alright. No changes to one of the best special moves in the game because it's amazing. But it now, both versions apply frozen. So, extra damage off of people walking into your clones. And same thing, EX clone here. Same thing, applies frozen to the opponent. There's that 13% uppercut. Alright. Alright, slide. Just to give him a little bit better armor, this is his one armor move. It used to do 12% on hit, now it does 17%. And now that it does like some decent damage, it's not a bad ender. Like you can, let's say you land this, maybe you spend 1 bar at the end of your combo, and you get pretty decent damage, 48. Because even though this is a major combo with all this scaling here, because you apply frozen, this EX slide actually doesn't scale too bad. You know, nice damage. And then the final one is the double ice freeze. It's used to do 5%. Now it does 10%. It's got a little bit of scaling in there because the scaling, there's like some extra scaling if they're frozen twice or whatever. But you get 1% plus 1% plus 9%. It's about 11% damage. So if you happen to freeze the opponent and you can't convert, you get some extra damage that way. He does have X-Ray is unchanged, but because of the great scaling, you know, like, let's see, what does this usually do? This, I think, is 33% naked. $33. So, like, let's say, end around, oh, you happen to land a frozen opponent. Usually this would scale heavy, 15% extra scaling, but now you do a little bit more damage. 35. And then it really starts to shine, like, there's even better combos, but I'll just do like a mid-level, like, ender here. You add the frozen here, you know, you could do, let's see here. You land a jump in, apply frozen, jump in, 2-1-2, X-ray. There's even more damage out there that you guys can find, but this is a nice little example of some of the damage he can get with his new passive. 56% X-ray combo, not bad. So I think Sub-Zero is very strong now. I think he still, of course, loses to Cabal, loses to Kenshi, but he's a lot better in a lot more of the matchups, and he's a lot of fun now. Or I think he's more fun to play than he used to be. But yeah, if you want to check him out, go ahead and download it on Nexus Mods and start freezing some people. He's been working on his freezing power since 2011, so go ahead and give him a try. All right, I will talk to you guys later.